Daniel.
And we have two guest girlfriends today. We have Miss
Cynthia Alfaro.
And last but not least, Mrs.
Latoya Dennis.
Hey! Welcome. Do it, Brandon, so you're welcome.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
We're so excited to have you guys. So
Absolutely.
we're in May, and we were thinking about, Mother's Day and what that means to us. And as Sybil and I were thinking about, we really want to have like some incredible moms on the show. Like the first names that came to mind were Cynthia Alfaro and Latoya Dennis. We were like, that's it, done, that's it.
Yep. Absolutely. There was no question. Yeah, Latoya, girlfriends, we had a three-way. Brandon and I are notorious for having a three-way with somebody, but we had...
Absolutely. Old school.
Old school. We had a three-way with Latoya, and it was a business call, and it turned into like a shout fest. Because
yes.
We were just marveling at how God delivers moms.
Yes.
And graces moms. Like, he gives us that grace to do motherhood and to do it with a smile and ease, even though there's a lot to it. So for all the new moms and even mid moms and older moms and
our great girlfriends that are thinking about being moms, because I think that one thing, I'm new in this game, right? I'm only 5 months in.
Yeah, you look good. You look healthy.
Yes.
I'm new in this game, but I remember like before having children, just wanting to know what it was going to be like. Yeah. I would see other women with children, but I would be like, well, how does that fit into my life? Mm-hmm. And how do I, balance and manage all these things with having a child? And quite honestly, I probably would have put it off for a few more years had I been a little bit younger.
Interesting.
That's all.
Interesting.
But so I think this episode is going to be good for great girlfriends, whether you are a mom right now, whether you're thinking about it, or even if you've said, I never want to be a mom. I still think this episode will be great for you, because at least you'll get some insight into kind of what it's like and some learnings and how people balance it all, and these ladies' incredible stories and how they're making it happen.
Very true. Very true. Very true. I love that.
Love that. So why don't we just start with both of Cindy actually runs a group called Moms Winning, and Latoya runs an organization called Motivated Moms. Can you first maybe just start out by telling us like what motivated you to start Moms Winning, Cynthia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the story behind Moms Winning is that, as I call it, it really began out of a pit of, unemployment and slight depression, I would say, because I was unemployed and I found myself, just trying to make it day by day, unemployed, raising two girls on my own, getting out of an unhealthy relationship. And I'm a very positive person, as my girlfriends here will tell you. And I knew to continue to just focus on the positive, focus on where I want to go. And because, I was able to successfully pull myself out of the pit by simply, not really simply, but by dedicating myself to transform my mind, because I couldn't change my situation. And I saw myself lifted out of a tough situation just by simply focusing my thoughts on more positive things. I said, that's what I want to do with Moms Winning, is to stay focused on the positive and stay focused on where we want to go. And every day, I felt like I was waking up and there were so many to-dos. Mm-hmm. They have to be fed. And this is so silly, but I gotta, you gotta feed them every 4 hours. Or like when they're younger, you gotta feed them every hour. Yeah. And like, I felt like I was always feeding or pumping and I was like, oh my gosh, I just fed them. And now I gotta turn around and make another meal. I don't even cook this much for myself. Mm-hmm. And, so just a big list of to-dos. And and at the end of the day, because I think we as women are so hard on ourselves. So we could have accomplished a lot, but we still go to bed thinking about what more we should have done. Mm-hmm. So then we lay our head on the pillow and we're like, we're not good enough. We didn't do enough. Mm-hmm. Right? And so the win of the day could be that they're still breathing. The win of the day could be that we did do some laundry. It's not folded or in any drawers, but it's done, right? And just take it, make it smaller. Make the accomplishments, celebrate the accomplishments, small or big, right? And focus on just winning. Because it was like a fight, and it still is on some days. It's a fight to get through the day. And because I have a sports background, you know, I know what it is like to be competitive and be dedicated and be disciplined, right, to accomplish a goal. So I felt like this was something similar. It's like a game. I have to get up and talk to my coach, and if there's not a coach, I need my spiritual coach, my internal coach, you know, me, myself, and I, and say, okay, how are we gonna win today? What strategy do I need to take? I'm feeling, you know, I'm PMSing today. I'm highly emotional. I don't have any energy. I can't take them across the street to the park. Just no energy. And what do I need to do to just like get through today and be able to feel good about it? So that's kind of like how Moms When was born. It was, Brandis told me, she coached me. She life coached me, even though I usually life coach her. She life coached me in this moment where we went to a cafe and she was like, why don't you just do a blog? And I was like, I'm not really a writer. I'm more of a speaker. I can talk to people. She was like, just, you know, journal about what's going on for you and whatever. And that's when it was born, like in 2013. I had to put it down for a second because life got overwhelming. And I just picked it up in the last, the few months of last year. But that's pretty much like where it was born out of, the hard times of motherhood. And I knew that if I can lighten somebody else's load by just sharing what I've done, like the shortcuts I've learned, and I'm good for talking to moms at the park and stuff like that. So figuring out, how do you do this? Like, my whole weekend is tied up doing laundry, groceries, and cleaning the house. I have no time for anything. If I'm hanging out with her for a half a day, something didn't get done. And then that starts my week off behind, you know. Yeah. So what are you doing? You know, so I'm talking to people like, how are you doing this? And like, tell me about it, blah, 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 you know. So it is like that best practice sharing that I want to share with other people, and then I also want to learn too, right? And you know, and then just go from there.
Let me ask you something real quick. You said that if you couldn't change your situation, you had to change your. If you couldn't change your situation, you had to change your mind, and I think that's difficult to sometimes do. Like, how do you even get to a place where you begin that shift?
Yeah. So I mean, I remember being on my kitchen floor one time. I don't know what had happened. It was probably a day like this, but 10 times worse. And I was talking to my best friend, and she was like trying to be encouraging, and it was just floating away. And unless you've ever been in that pit, it might not make sense.
Yeah.
But it's like all the encouragement and blah, blah, blah that people could tell you, you know, sometimes it just floats away. And that's when I feel like, you know, you're just trying to be spiritually attacked. And so what I did was I realized what I started to do was focus my thoughts. I'm a big believer that our life experiences represent our thoughts. Yeah. So if we're not feeling good, we could probably trail it back to we're not thinking well, right? That's when I was like, I have to start changing my mind. And Louise Hay is a great, you know, author and motivational speaker, and she believes that our life experiences reflect our what's happening in our mind, our thoughts. So whatever movie's playing in our mind, it manifests in our life in how we feel. And so I said, what else do I have to lose? Let me at least try this out. And so I literally taped up affirmations on my kitchen cabinets because most of my time was spent in the kitchen anyway, either cleaning or cooking. So that's like my chalkboard. And so and they're still taped. They've changed. The affirmations have changed, but I've taped up my affirmations, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say this 10 times, like each of them 10 times. And then when I find those moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to come back and say, I can do this. And like magic, after days, weeks, and a month probably of doing this, I just woke up with a greater peace. Nothing had changed. Like I was telling myself, I have all the love and support I need. Like all the things that I felt like I didn't have, I was deficient in, I was affirming myself, right? Like I have enough strength to get through this. I have enough health to get through this. You know, like I just said it in present tense so that it would manifest as such. And just one day I just woke up and the load felt just a slight bit lighter, and it got better and it got better and it got better. So that was like my secret sauce, my recipe to get out of that pit for that time period, right? And now they've gotten older and things have changed, and the load is even lighter and harder in some ways. But that's the magic of that moment for me, was changing my thoughts when I couldn't change my environment, right? And there's so many philosophers and speakers who can speak to that too, right? If you even think about like Nelson Mandela, who was captured, right, in jail for years, he speaks about how you will never have me because you never have my mind, right? Like it's really deep.
Right.
And that's why people say your mind is your most powerful tool.
Right.
Not your body, not, your words or like, but what's
the Bible says be transformed by the renewing of the mind.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it was all there.
What happened when you paint a picture and then you have to shift the image of the picture? So you have a picture of the way your family will be, and then the dynamics change and the circumstances change. What is that mental process like for you in terms of, you put the affirmations in place, but then what turned on in you to be the woman that what you were stepping into being?
Yeah, I think it's similar to anybody who deals with loss of any kind. We set a lot of expectations out there, and a lot of times it doesn't go as our plans want it to go. But even so, mentally, I just had to grieve. I had to allow myself to grieve. Grieve the dream, right? And again, just affirm to myself when I was having the low moments of like, gosh, that's so sad that it didn't work out, and it could have been, and it could have been, we could say that all day, but affirm to myself, there's something greater then God has more in store for you. Oh, and by the way, X, Y, and Z wasn't good for you either. Or calling a friend when I needed a boost or something like that. But it's the grieving process. I went to therapy right away because I told my therapist day one, as a true, athlete, I was like, look, here's the game plan. I was like, look, we gotta
tell you how to do this.
Yeah. All I'm saying
therapy me through this,
right,
to win at this. Yeah.
So it was so true. I was like, look, this just happened. I was like, I'm focused.
I totally see you doing this.
I was like, I'm focused. Whatever needs to happen, let's get through it. But
I totally see this.
I was like,
this is like, so why are we here?
But I was like, this needs to be an accelerated healing. I was like, I'm not. That's too much.
I love it.
I was like, look,
that is my new term. I now want accelerated healing. That's what I want.
So I was just like, I've been through, a real tough situation, and I want to learn from it and move on.
Yeah.
The quickest way I can. Not to say, life is going to be life, and it's supposed to drag you through some stuff so that you can learn from it at a pace that only he will, determine. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I'm here, available, and ready. Yeah. So coach me, talk to me, from wherever source he decides. But I was like, let's go. What do I need to talk about? What method do we need to try? Or do you need to hypnotize me? I don't know what's going on. But whatever we need to do, let's pull out the learning and move forward. So grieving, prayer, therapy, and just affirming to myself, we have enough. Because for a while, because I wasn't raised with a dad, I think what held me there for a long time was because I didn't want my girls to have be without a dad either. And I thought that was in my control. I thought if I did, if I said something a certain way, if I, if I did something better, that, that person would stay more present or whatever else. But that wasn't the truth. And so it was a power shift for me. But it took constant affirmations. We have enough. We have enough. It was just grieving, right? And just like anybody who grieves, like one day it gets better. It gets, the weight ends up being a little bit lighter. Yeah. And time continues on and it ends up being just a little bit lighter. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay. I can digest it now. I can actually talk about it now, And so it just takes time and prayer and being kind to yourself. And now I'm like, boop. Sorry for you. You know, we got it going on.
Like mom winning.
Yeah, I was like, we got more than enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, so
That's awesome.
Wow, that's so amazing.
Very good. Very good. I'm so happy to hear the transition in the story and like how you took your athletic background to push you through and give you the stamina, the endurance, all the things that athletes use to really get a win.
yes.
And that now you're you're championing this movement in terms of moms winning. I get it now. It's a scoreboard. It's got plays to it. There's a playbook.
And I don't even know where I got that tag. I heard it somewhere and I was like, that's it. So life is a game, right? Meaning like we need to step back and not expect it to be all peaches and cream because it will not be that. Nobody's exempt from hard times, right? So if we approach it more of like, okay, ups, downs. Oh, okay, here's a down. Oh, here's something else I got to bob and weave, through.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready. And then love is the prize. Because I feel like at the end of the day, we're all here put on this earth. We have a life to give, to love, to share, right? That to me, I believe that's our purpose, right? And then we win, meaning like we win, right? Like, so we win through our daily challenges. We win as moms because we've been blessed with that to nourish that love, that type of love. Not everybody gets to experience. And wow, when I became a mother, I was like, oh my God, this is living. I thought all that other stuff was important. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most magical, out of this world type of love and experience. And, it's very downplayed in society because it's all over. It's not, but
It's
for
still-
me in
every
my
time
life,
it's
I'm like,
still great.
it's amazing,
Yeah.
right?
You know what's interesting? Recently, Beyonce said her greatest accomplishment on earth was giving birth to Blue Ivy. And all the feminists went after her. Of all her career accolades, why as a woman are we trained to feel that to feel that motherhood has to be first priority? I said that came from someone who never carried a baby.
Yeah.
Must have.
Never gave birth and felt that sense of connection and love. That is the absolute greatest accomplishment.
Yes, no
And
matter what
no
comes
matter
your way.
What comes. And yes, billions of women have done it. It does not discount that every time motherhood, for me,
Yeah.
I don't care what else happens outside of my body, doing that for me, hands down. I thought that was interesting how they tormented her in the media. It was
Here's what's funny. So if no women on earth had a baby, right? And there was one woman who carried a human inside of her and then pushed that human out, that woman would be a shero. She would be in the news. She'd be in the news.
Absolutely.
She'd be like, everybody would write books about her.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? She carried a human. But it's just because God has given that ability to all, to so many women. Yeah. So it becomes a thing that we take for granted.
Yeah.
But if it was one woman that happened to, this whole world was shut down and be like, this is a miracle.
I remember before I gave birth, I was like, motherhood, listen. Then I gave birth, I was like, motherhood, did you know?
Me too.
Like the human grows on the inside and comes out.
Me too.
I mean, I was done. I was like,
naturally.
Oh, my bad, mothers.
Naturally.
Like, you can't tell me nothing.
No, I was like, oh, you're a shero, you're a superwoman. I was like, oh, complete game
Here's
changer.
what's funny. Even in business, when we're doing business, and LaToya, you probably can attest to this too, when you're doing business with other mothers, it's totally different.
Completely different.
It's like
girl,
there's like a empathy there that's like, no problem.
Yeah.
It's, it's a
like
weird thing.
7'4", Brandis 5 months, Cindy 6'4", LaToya 7-year-old. Yeah, I mean, we just start dropping stats. It's like, girl, how you doing?
Right.
Oh, so
that's why I knew I could walk through this door this morning being on 50.
Yes.
Not 100, but I was like, at least I'm going to a place where I could
It's all good.
I can be real.
Yeah.
And
Right.
maybe get some prayer.
Be real.
And get
absolutely.
some support.
Absolutely.
LaToya, let's turn this over to you because I'm telling you, when you had Brandis and I, we were sort of floating after you told us your story and the amount of triumph that you experienced in your life, LaToya. I'm telling you, I commend you on 10 levels for that because
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, because your mission it's like bursting out of you, and I really want other women to understand how situations, and both from Cindy as well, the mess turns into something great when you make the decision in your mind, in your heart, to move out of it and become something more and live for more, give more. It happens. So if you don't mind, LaToya, tell us, from the beginnings of your experience with mom to becoming one, how you championed motivated moms.
So it's interesting, the motivated moms piece is because I started a chance to learn. And a chance to learn is all about advocating for early childhood education. Well, through that process, I was asked to host parenting classes. And those parenting classes was all about helping parents understand the importance of parent engagement with their child's education. During those sessions, there were a lot of single moms, and their response to me was, Miss LaToya, because that's what they call me, Miss LaToya, I know you're saying that we should be engaged, but I didn't graduate high school, so I don't feel. So all of their comments to me were about their inadequacies. And so the motivated mom came about because I wanted to help moms. I wanted to encourage moms to be great women, living their best potential, living their best life, so that they could then be extraordinary moms. Well, the interesting thing about that, this was so accidental, but I realized that it was on purpose, because in looking at these moms and their lack and what they felt they didn't achieve or they didn't have, I saw myself, because that could have easily been me. And I saw the importance of a mother. Like, why is it important that a mom is engaged? And I started to think about my own childhood. My mother was raped. I'm a product of rape. And my mother didn't want me. She wanted me enough to have me because she could have aborted me. But she was resentful. I reminded her of this horrific time in her life. By the way, she was 12 years old, 13 when I was born. And so in many ways, we learned together. We grew up together. I was almost like her little sister, to be honest. My grandmother raised me. And I didn't realize or learn that my mother was raped until I was 26. 26 years old. And everything made sense. I longed for my mother's approval and love, and she tried. She truly tried. But when I asked my mom at 26, why didn't you tell me that you were raped? Her response was, you needed your father. And in that moment, you all, I saw a strong woman. And in my connection with all of these other women and all of the reasons why they couldn't be a great mom or engaged, I said, you know something, I've got to help them understand that this is just a situation and you can overcome this. But I didn't respond immediately, you all. I like Cynthia, I put it down. And I remember coming from the airport. I'm going through a transition right now in my life where I'm defining that whole accomplishing more. I'm defining why. Why do I want to accomplish more? What's important in me accomplishing more? Is it for more, or is it for me to become better? And so I'm coming through the airport, making a decision about a client, and it's late. I get off the plane. I'm tired, and I'm walking, and there's this woman. She's there with 4 children. I remember when she boarded the plane, because she was the very last one on the plane, with these 4 children and about 7 bags, duffel bags, right? And everybody, even me, I was frustrated at the time, because I'm thinking, in the world, it's time to go. She's late. All these kids, these bags. I get off the plane, you guys, and there she is with the kids, and she's walking slow. And they come with a wheelchair, and I said, can I help you? And she turned around to sit down, you guys, and I see blood seeping out of her clothes everywhere. And I said, are you okay? And she said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, sit down, and I'm gonna push you. So I got the bags, and I got like 4 bags on one shoulder. I put her smallest baby in her lap. I had the 3 others walking behind me, holding hands, and they've got a bag all together, and we're just making it work. And she said, I looked down, and the kids doesn't have shoes, and neither does she. And I said, what? I said, what can I do to help you? She said, I'm fleeing domestic violence. And I had to get away. The baby was wet. The baby was hungry. She could barely move. So now we're waiting in the area in the baggage claim. And I said, well, ma'am, can I do anything? Can I take you anywhere? And she says, no, my sister's coming. So I change the baby's diaper, and I make the bottle, and I sit there until her ride comes. It's 1 a.m. by this time. And I get in my car, and I weep. And all of a sudden, Motivated Moms came up again. You have got to help moms. You've got to motivate them to be great women. This woman is a great woman because she had the courage to leave to make life better for her children. That is an extraordinary. And I really wanted other women to understand that when you fully believe enough in yourself as a woman, you will become a great mom because you won't compromise yourself. You won't settle for things that hurt you. You will strive to live your best life because 1, you deserve it. And 2, there are people that you brought in this world that had no idea of anything. They don't deserve to be treated poorly. They don't deserve to be without. And so as a mom, for you to become great, not with a lot of money or as a VP or any of that, but to live every day living your best life, you will be an extraordinary mom. And that's what I believe. And it comes from a passage in a book I read years ago, and I live my life around this quote. And it's from God Chasers, Tommy Tenney, and it says, passion makes complacency uncomfortable. And I believe that. I believe that when you are passionate about something, you will thrive. You guys were talking about mom and work balance. And it is so critical because as women in power and position, for those women that don't understand motherhood, for those of us who are moms, it can be very critical and cruel. And sometimes as moms, we pursue the wrong P's. We pursue the promotion or the pay or the prestige, but we don't always consider the passion. And for me, the Motivated Moms group is so important because I'm passionate about it, and it gives me the opportunity to be a great mom. It really does. It helps me to learn more about myself when someone else calls and they're dealing with this or want advice about this, or they're in a situation where they're saying, LaToya, I feel even my relationship with Cindy. I mean, I fell in love with her over the phone because I'm thinking this is a great woman and an extraordinary mom. Yes. Although going through her challenges and listening to her, she's right. She celebrates the wins all the time. It is always a win. And I think that's so important. And that's kind of what drove me to be this champion for a motivated mom. It's not so much of, I want to give you the best tips on, helping your child eat green vegetables. I wish I knew. But it is about helping you to understand the importance of who you are as a woman.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it goes back to changing your mind, right? When you change your mind about who you are, you will change your life and the life of your children.
Latoya, first of all, I'm so blown away. We're both so blown away by you guys' strength and your resiliency. I wanted to, talk to you like for someone else at 26 finding out that their life was the result of rape or feeling rejected by their mom all their life, that would tear them down. Like, I mean, they would retreat and you wouldn't hear anything else from them. What in the world, please tell us, gave you the strength to go from, that to a woman that is speaking, who's built an incredible foundation, who's done so many incredible things in your life already? Like, how do you go from knowing that about your life to overcoming that and achieving the things you've been able to do?
My grandmother. My grandmother loved me more than anybody on this side of heaven. And she made sure that I never lacked love, ever. To the point where I really believe that it caused bitterness from family members because of the way that I was treated by my grandmother. But she loved me whole. She did. She loved me whole. And when she passed away, I had just moved to Atlanta, and I felt as if God had taken my crutch. And a friend of mine said, you ought to go to church with me. And at the time, you get saved as a kid. I'm 21 years old at this point. I'm like, okay. I go to church. And I'm telling you, it changed my life. It was the Lord. I didn't have the capacity. And you know what? God started preparing me for what was happening at 26 long time ago. You know how you feel like what you were born into is not big enough to handle you? That's how I felt all my life. Even, wanting to be, closer to my mother because she was present. She was there. We lived with her at times, because, my grandmother would move. We lived with her at times. She was always there, some way. I may not see her for a year or two, or, there was a time when I was living with strangers, like I was living with other people. I remember, in my high school years, I lived with a whole nother family, and so that things happen, but I always believed that what I was born into couldn't handle who God created me to be. And I knew that I had to turn the challenges of my life into victories. If not for me, for other people.
Yeah.
Because for years, I don't know. I don't know how. I know that it was something deep down inside of me that I just believed that I wanted to do more. And the more I learned about myself, especially at that age, because a lot had happened. I had accepted Christ. I had realized that I had been raped my entire life as a kid, and blocked that out. So by the time I got to 26 and finding out that, my dad raped my mother, by the way, his current wife, my stepmom, told me, so much had happened that I was like, okay, Okay, so it explained it really. This is why my mother had such an issue. This is why I fought so hard to be close to her. And although I saw that she loved me, it was hard for her. So things made sense by that time.
So
I
you,
was,
so because I have to go back real quick because I know a lot of women have dealt with this. So not only had your mom been raped, but you had been raped as well.
absolutely, absolutely, by my mom's boyfriend. And I just, you block it out. And I had gone on this journey of just being a good servant. I wanted to preserve my body from my husband. I go to this class, and they were doing. It was like a waiting, like pursuing your purpose. You're waiting for marriage, and you're going through this cleansing process. And I remember this lady coming up to me as we were praying. Things were happening, and I don't know. I don't want to spook anybody out, but they had started kind of casting out demons, right? Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine was sitting next to me. She said, "What is going on?" I said, "I don't know, but I do know that you got to cover yourself. So says the Word of God. So you pray." Because if they're going out, they went into pigs in the Bible. So listen, cover yourself. And we started praying, and the woman come up to me and she said, "Hey, God wants to heal you." And I said, "Heal me from what?" I was almost offended. This is how stupid I was. I was almost offended. And I said, "Heal me from what?" And she put her hand on my belly. And I hit the ground. My girlfriend said I hit the ground so hard that my head bounced up and hit it maybe 3 more times. She said, "Latoya, you started screaming and crying as if you were 5. Get off me, get off me, get off me. Leave me alone." And when I woke up, came to, I was just throwing up and throwing up. And after all of the throwing up, you all, I felt like a virgin for the very first time in my life. And I never talked to my mom about that, ever. I have never shared this with my mother. So I probably should before Mother's Day. because she follows everything that I do. She is such a great supporter, and I know she's going to tune into this. And I don't want her to be shocked. But I never told her the experience that I had when I was allowed to visit her or stay with her for times. But I didn't realize it either until later in my life. So by the time I got to 26, I wasn't a victim. And I wasn't going to act like one. I wasn't going to live like one. And so when I got the news about my dad, I kept it moving. But I understood, my mom's situation and what had happened. Everything made sense. It just made sense. And it was my fuel. It fueled my faith to be a better person, a better mom, a better wife, a better servant of God, a better daughter. Because I no longer pray, "God, change my mother. Change me so that I can better understand my mother, so that I can be a better daughter to my mother," because my expectation for her was so high because of what I wanted her to be, not understanding that her circumstances made her who she was. And it changed everything for me.
Wow.
I think it's so interesting because motherhood is this never-ending journey. And, it starts with our perception of our relationships, with our moms and some of the things that we either want to mirror or some things that we want to leave behind that propel us to do better, or either pulls us into a pattern. Because we have a lot of moms that are listening that are doing what their mothers did and don't know any better or can't see any better. And then there's some moms that are saying, "Well, my mom did this, and I know there's better, and I'm going to pursue it, and I'm going to figure out the way." And as a mom, that process keeps going because in every stage, your kids need something different from you, and you got to pull from a different place to be present, and what you both have captured is that there is a need for presence at every stage, and there is a depth that we all carry that we have to be able to locate and say, it's, first of all, the well is within me,
Yes.
that well, that grace, that strength, that depth, that power, the resilience, the courage, the joy, the laughter, all of the things that are critical to being a mom and thriving as a mom, they're inside of me. I need to find the best way to pull from my experiences and make it greater for my kid, and doing that every single time so we can be there and enjoy being there. Because there are times when it's really complicated to be a mom, and I had a motherhood moment a couple weeks back where I was like, wow. These two, these two are, boy, they're taking me back to like days when I didn't have any kids, like reminiscent days. And then I was like, but honestly, I don't want to go there. I don't want to ever be without these two. So I need to locate what I need to enjoy this moment where I feel like I want to smack them, hang kwaku, and then go to drink a cocktail or something. It was just, everything was happening at once. And that happens, that's going to happen on many levels. I mean, our kids are all young kids, all of our kids, so we're going to reach different years where we're going to have a different type of muscle, a different, different love muscle, a different mama muscle, a stronger mama eye.
You know what's so funny? I'm sitting here listening to you, right? And I was like, imagine it. This is what, a lot of our moms went through, right? Yeah. But then we get to like 18. We had this episode where we talked about like the things that we were upset at our moms about. So can you imagine your mom going through this situation where she's giving the best that she knows to give?
Yes.
And then at 18, you're like, but you didn't come to any of my games.
You ungrateful little thing.
Well, that's interesting because I'm telling you, I did not, hindsight, I think my mom did an amazing job. I didn't believe that before, but then I had to understand, she is doing the very best she could at that time.
Yeah.
The best thing for her to do was allow my grandmother to raise me so that I could be loved whole.
Yeah.
She gave you her
and
best.
So those are the things that I didn't think about. I didn't think about the times where we had some very, very great moments. I still remember my mother putting me on her feet, lifting me up, holding my hands, singing Fly Like an Eagle. Those are moments that, you know what I mean? It's those that I saw my mom when we would sing Always and Forever. That was our favorite song. And so even today, when she gives me a card, love mom, always and forever. She was doing the best she could under the circumstance. And I think that for me is why the motivated moms are so important, is because sometimes motivating a mom isn't easy when you don't understand where they are.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could look like you're not an extraordinary mom.
Yeah.
But until I talk to you and understand what happened, and I think that's what I call heart-centered parenting. I am a heart-centered person. Everything is heart-centered. And heart-centered says, I'm not going to ask, what's wrong with you, Cynthia? You come in there, you're on 50 instead of 100. Like, what's wrong with you? You always have an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always something. What's wrong with you? That's not heart-centered. Heart-centered says, Cynthia came in at 50, not 100. What happened? Because that's not who she is. So it's not asking what's wrong with you. It's asking what happened to you. And I think we need more heart-centered parenting. Because then we ask what happened. We need more heart-centered sisterhood. Because now I'm asking, what happened to Brandis? Something must have happened this morning because she wasn't herself today. Instead of automatically saying, what's wrong with her? She is,
Right, right.
And I think it makes a difference because then you understand where a person is coming from. And it wasn't until years later that I understood that my mom, she was amazing because she allowed me the opportunity to be loved whole. And perhaps at that time, that's not what she could give.
Yeah. A big piece
And
of what
that's motherhood.
Yeah, a big piece of what I hear through your theme too, Latoya, and yours, Cindy, is forgiveness and knowing how, like, at this part of your healing, being able to forgive yourself. As a mom, we know that we mess up a lot. And we can be really, really hard on ourselves. But, forgiving ourselves for the times that we didn't do it by whatever the book was. And forgiving our moms for the times, because you having the courage to look back and say she did the best she could, from somebody else will be like, no, she didn't. But for you to say, like, she gave your grandmother to you, which was her absolute best.
Yes.
And you having enough courage to forgive her and say that so that you guys can have the relationship you deserve now, that's rewarding. And that for you makes the legacy strong, because now Chance has the opportunity to enjoy her.
Oh, they love each other. They love each other. They go on dates. I mean, and something is, I'm glad you said that, Sybil, because I think my mother was very envious of my relationship with my grandmother. I really believe that. And now I am so glad that she can see what it's like. And I told her that about a couple months ago. I said, aren't you glad that now you have an opportunity to see what me and Grandma had?
Yeah.
And I said, this is what we had. What you have with Chance is exactly what we had.
Yeah.
Because we were, we were inseparable. She loved me like no other. And I know that my mother, Chance does something for my mother. My mother is very impatient, right? And, she talks very loud. And Chance is like, my God, please use your inside voice.
I love it.
It's so funny. Like, I gotta share this. So she was, I guess she was just tired, and he was like, my God, I want this, and my God, I want that, and my God, can I now have some this? And it's like 5 things that he wanted within like an hour and a half. And so she's getting up, moving. So finally he asked for something, and she said, excuse me, y'all. She said, we ain't got no such and such. And he was like, we ain't got no? No, my God, we don't have any. So
cute.
I could see on her face, the frown and the frustration, everything just went away. And she was like, love bug, really? You're correcting my God, but you're right. We don't have any. I'm sorry. And he's like, it's okay, my God. I still love you. I know you got frustrated with me, but it's okay. But he takes her to a whole different place.
Yeah.
And it's good. I'm really glad that they have that relationship, because I truly believe as I was growing up, she was very envious of the relationship that I had with my mother and my grandmother, even to the point where when my grandmother passed, I was a beneficiary of everything. So for her and her siblings, it was just kind of like, what? Really?
Right.
We're her living kids, and you know what I mean? But that's our bond. We had it. And I'm thankful that she has it now with Chance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have to jump off soon, Latoya, but I wanted to make sure that you guys left our girlfriends with, maybe 2 or 3 tips around womanhood, maybe, and motherhood.
Okay,
So,
if you don't mind, I'll go first so that I can jump off. And but I'm glad you asked that question, because there are a couple things, and I think it's around motherhood, but it's around being motivated to, I think we talked about earlier, accomplishing your more. But moms, I would want them to know that it's okay to focus on you in order to move your life forward. Sometimes,
yes,
it is. It's okay to focus on you in order to move your life forward. Because if you don't, then it affects you being a mom. Mm-hmm. It affects what you're able to do with your children. And I think that's a part of what we don't plan for, is we don't plan for our children's exposure. but children will achieve to the level of their exposure. So when you focus on you and you can do better, then you can help expose them to better.
Absolutely. Oh,
Wow.
that was so fantastic. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The other thing is invest more time and attention in what you know has been proven to make you happy, right? Because when we chase money or jobs or things, it doesn't bring happiness. You have to know where your happiness comes from. So don't promise yourself more happiness when you achieve more. I'd say apply it that. Just be happy and then achieve. And then the third would be take time to love and understand and appreciate yourself.
Wow.
It is so very important, because when we don't do that, we are always like Cindy said earlier, it's always the task becomes overwhelming. Oh, I've always got to wash clothes. I've always got to help do homework. I've always got to cook a meal. I've always got to clean a room. I've always got to pick up a toy, and it becomes so overwhelming that I'm always being a mom. Well, yeah, you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's who you are. But when you take time to love and understand and appreciate yourself, then you will carve out time for things that are important to you to help you become a better mom.
Yeah, I love that, LaToya.
It helps you become a better mom. So those would be my tips.
Those are awesome. Cynthia.
When I think about it, I would just say first, the identity shifts when you become a mom. I would say for a good year and a half or two, I might have been fantasizing about my old life. So the identity shifts, and it's okay. You will no longer have your old self per se, but you will have, what you will realize is you don't want your old self anymore. What you want is your old self and better. And I think motherhood does that. A lot of times, it's easy to say motherhood hijacked your goals or something like that, your career goals. I went from being very career focused to all of a sudden changing careers and taking a huge pay cut to be with my kids. So it was a complete shift. But I realized it was an identity shift, and it's a promotion. It's a promotion. It's not a demotion at all. Right? I said that right. So 2, for me, motherhood helped me toughen up. Like I was as a person, just me, myself, and I think I catered to people a lot, right? And I wanted to please people. Motherhood helped me to toughen up and be okay with being misunderstood or taking flack. Like, it's okay. Like, right? Just similar to your point, LaToya, about like kind of do you and be okay with it, but focus on yourself. And sometimes that will give you flack, and that's okay. Right. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? And the last thing, focus on the gratitude. And we all say that, like, give thanks and blah, blah, blah. But when you're struggling or you're stressed out, focusing your thoughts on being grateful is also a mechanism for stress. For stress, or just being able to live in your moment. Because a lot of times, especially in this world of high technology, it could be easy to be with your family and not be with your family, right? So take this opportunity. Kids will slow us down if we let them, right? They just slow you down. Like, no, I don't care about anything else. I'm crying right now. Focus on me. And it's a great opportunity to like live in the moment. And see the trees as they see them, like for the first time, right? And see everything, water flowing or whatever, as the first time. Wow, look at this. And I'm like, that's a good lesson for us to just stop and remember all the magic that is around us, that we, because we're so busy that we just like drive past and like, oh yeah, it's trees, great. It's spring, things are blooming. It happens every year, kid, but it's magical. It's magical. There's magic that we can tap into, and it can give us energy, right? We can understand we're in this world, but not of it, right? And we're out of this world awesome if we can just remember. And I think kids help us remember if we let them.
I love that. Ladies, these were absolutely incredible tips. These stories, great girlfriends. If you guys aren't inspired to like go out and kill it after hearing these stories, I don't know what to tell you. This was incredible, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
yes, and happy Mother's Day to every single mother. Mothers everywhere, girlfriend mothers. We thank you for stepping up to the challenge and enjoying it and pursuing it and not giving up.
Yes.
Don't give up.
Thank you. And you guys, can you just give where people can find Moms Winning?
Yeah, you can just go to www.momswinning.com and everything social media related will be there.
And Motivated Moms?
For Motivated Moms, it is achancetolearn.org.
Okay, got it. Done and done. Well,
Thanks. We want to thank our husbands.
Yes.
Being dynamic and holding it down.
Thank you, babe. Oh, Lord, I left them with Miss Scott this morning. Thank our families. We want to thank all of our friends and all of our great girlfriends out there for allowing us to be your go-to source for everything, life, love, laughter, and everything in between. You can, if you guys want to check us out, you can reach us on our Instagram at
The Great Girlfriends.
You can also reach us on our Twitter
_great
and on our Facebook group.
The Great Girlfriends.
And we hope to see you all here in New York City, June 10th through 12th for the Great Girlfriends Conference.
We just a couple of motivated moms winning.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, ladies.
Okay, be sure to post your questions, share with your friends.
Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend.
I'm Sybil.
I'm Brandis.
I'm Cindy.
And I'm Latoya.
And we're signing off. Thank you, guys.
Bye.